Ladies and gentlemen, it's a sacred honor to be here with you today. As a graduate of Utah State University, I've spent a lot of time in this building. I've cheered loudly, I've said some things I'm not proud of, and celebrated wildly. I never expected that this would be a place of deep mourning. But today and forever, this arena is hallowed ground. On Sunday night, August 17th, I got a text message from Commissioner Bo Mason, Commissioner of Public Safety, a message I pray every single night that I will not receive. As that message came in, he said that there was an active shooting in Tremonton, a place I hold dear, a mayor I love, and that 2 officers were down, a 3rd was wounded, and likely 2 fatalities. Now, the hope I held on to was almost always in the fog of those messages, the first reports are inaccurate. And I said a silent prayer that this was not the case, because I knew that this doesn't happen here. This couldn't happen here. Sadly, as the night went on and the reports came in, those initial reports were confirmed. Less than 24 hours later, I found myself at the office of the medical examiner, waiting to meet with 2 families. 2 families I had not met previously. And the first family came in. I met Brittany and Sienna and Luca for the very first time. Those are sacred moments when I have the opportunity to represent the 3.5 million people that call Utah home and try in some way to express our love and sorrow in an impossible situation, knowing that words will never be enough. And as I saw Brittany and I hugged her and the tears flowed, I asked her 2 things. I said, please tell me about Eric. And immediately the tears stopped and her eyes lit up as she got to tell me about the man that is Eric Estrada. She told me about how they met. She told me about the coincidences that couldn't have been coincidences from their families and where they came from. She told me about the kind of husband and father he was, the kind of husband and father that I'm still trying to be. The second question I asked, and I so appreciate Detective Cluff, because it was a question she asked Eric, and I asked her about his why. And I want you to imagine, in the worst possible scenario, less than 18 hours after knowing that the profession, the occupation that her greatest love had chosen took his life, she looked me in the eye and told me about his why and their why and her why. And that why was about making the world a better place. In this fallen and broken world that the pastor so eloquently talked about, he and they wanted to make a difference. They wanted to help other people and make their community better, and paid the ultimate price for doing that. Now, I'm not the scriptorian that Pastor Belz is, but there's one scripture I always think about in these situations, and that is in the Gospel of John, chapter 15, verse 13. You all know it. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends. Now, Jesus said that. We talk about it. We think about it. I want to be very careful with my words now. I don't think Jesus got it wrong. Okay? But the problem with that is everyone was a friend to Jesus. And see, I've always thought that that meant my willingness to lay down my life for my friends. And I think most of us would do that. The question I have for you is, would you lay down your life for a complete stranger? See, I think that's the greatest love of all. And I don't know that there are many of us in this world that would do that. Except today, as I look around this room, I'm in a room full of people who every single day are willing to lay down their lives, not just for their friends, but for perfect strangers, for some of us who don't deserve it. And I'm humbled and grateful that Eric Estrada was one of those people. Now, I know there are several family members whose native tongue is not English. And Brittany told me it would be okay to share a few words in Spanish. Espero que me da esta oportunidad de compartir algunas palabras en su idioma, de español. Es imposible decir en palabras lo que estamos sintiendo ese día. Yo sé que nunca podemos entender lo que ustedes están sintiendo como familia. Pero estamos tan agradecidos por su sacrificio. El sacrificio de Eric, de dar su vida para ayudar a los demás. Y es imposible reparar lo que está pasado, pero yo les prometo que nunca vamos a olvidar este héroe tan especial, que su memoria siempre va a estar con nosotros y cada día vamos a hacer todo lo posible a ayudar a su esposa y sus hijos tan especiales. Ladies and gentlemen, we will never, ever be able to repay the sacrifice that Eric and his family have made for the people of the state of Utah, Box Elder County, and the city of Tremonton. But my promise is that we will spend the rest of our lives trying to do that. I believe that this life is not the end. I believe that while Eric is not here physically, that he is still here. That he will be a guardian angel to Sienna and Luca and to his special Brittany. I made a mistake a few days ago. I got on the website, I read the obituary, the mortuary, and I started looking at all those pictures. And I went through dozens and dozens and dozens of pictures of Eric. And I got to one that broke me. There's a picture of Eric curled up incredibly uncomfortably in a crib with the baby girl, I believe. Sienna, was that you in that picture? Yeah. And that picture told me everything I needed to know about Eric. I could feel the impossible night. I'm guessing, Sienna, you were not sleeping and your dad crawled in that crib to comfort you so your mom could probably get a little rest. And that's when I knew the kind of man and father that Eric is. And I know that God will not be able to stop him from watching over you. I also know that there are angels that are unseen, but angels that are seen. This room is full of angels that you can see right now. Angels who are going to spend our lives trying to make sure that your sacrifice was not in vain. May God bless you now and always. And may God bless all of us as we keep alive the memory of Officer Estrada.